Hey there, welcome to Old Man Runner. In today's video, I'm going to review the Altra Running Vanish Carbon. First, I'm going to go through some concepts about zero drop shoes and show some running video. Then I'm going to put them on the turntable and list their specifications. Then I'm going to review them. And finally, I'm going to see if I can recommend them. I've wanted to try a zero drop shoe for quite some time, and I've been looking at Altra's range. I wanted to get a shoe that had some cushioning as well as zero drop, so not a zero cushion shoe or minimal cushion shoe. I did want the cushioning, and I looked at a lot of Altra's trail shoes, but I have a lot of trail shoes and they don't get as much wear because I live in the city. So when this came along, I jumped right on it. Let's talk about stack height and drop. Well, the stack height is how high your foot is off the ground, and the drop is the difference between the highest point off the ground and the lowest point. Usually, almost always, the highest point is at the heel and the lowest point is at the forefoot, and there's an angle down. And the difference between the height in the rear and the height at the front is the drop. I'll try and explain it with two pieces of wood. This piece of wood, the top surface and the bottom surface are parallel. There's zero drop from there to there. But the stack height on this could be measured here, but if I rotate it, this would be the stack height. So the stack height could vary, but the drop could still be zero. This is another angled piece of wood, and this piece of wood, you can see there's a difference in height between here and here, the bottom being parallel to the table, and that is the angle of attack or the drop. It's often felt that the more comfortable shoes have about a 10mm drop. I have not that many shoes with a 10mm drop, but this one, which you'll see in the running video, is the Craft CTM, Craft Tailored Motion Ultra Carbon. It's 40mm at the back and there's a 10 drop towards the front. It won't be at the toe, it'll be sort of in the forefoot here. So this is probably the highest stack and the biggest drop of the shoes I have. The Altra, by way of comparison, is 33mm all the way. So it's 33 here and it's 33 at the back. Now, interestingly, the shoe I tested last week, the Nike Streakfly, this is 33 at the back and then it tapers down from the front. So there's a lot of variety in the shoes and there's a lot of reasons why you would use a different heel drop. I've got these two pieces of wood to crudely represent the sole on the Altra Vanish Carbon and the Craft CTM Ultra Carbon. So this particular one is 33mm high and has zero drop, and this one is 40 at the back with a 10mm drop towards the front. Now this is a uniform drop. Usually in a shoe it might dip down to the front and then go up, but this will give you an idea, and I'm going to use my trusty assistant Bones to kind of get you some views of it. So if I take the 33mm one, here we are. So here's Bones, and in this one what happens is that let's say that's a 90-degree angle. There's tension on your Achilles here and then into your calf. And then the greater that goes like that, the more this muscle is in tension. So when you take the drop, sorry for all the clunking. When you take the shoe with the drop, there's less of an angle, it's less than 90 degrees here. And the lower that is, the less pressure on the calf and the Achilles. I talked a little bit about the range, usually between 0 and 12mm in shoes. 10mm is my highest, and before that, the lowest I would have had was 4mm. And see, Malpe have got this 864 shoe, and they use these various different inserts to change the angle of attack and to give you a different drop depending on what the conditions you wanted to do, and it allows you to step down towards zero fairly easily and without too much pressure on your foot going from a high drop to a low drop all in one go. I like to run in different shoes, different stack heights, different drop. I think the variety puts different pressures on my muscles, and I'm trying to work all of the muscles. So I actually like to do it in different stack heights, but you have to be careful, because what happens is, as I tried to demonstrate Bones a little bit, is that you can put, if you've got a low drop shoe, you can put a lot of pressure on your Achilles or on your calf, and so you could risk getting strain if you go from say 10 to 0 and do a lot of running immediately. So I try to vary a bit between, most of my shoes go between 4 and 10, and I never worry about running. I can just interchange at any point in time, doesn't matter. But now that I've got a zero drop shoe, I just wanted to be a bit careful before I did that. I'm interested in foot strike. I mean, I'm a mid to rear foot striker, and I feel I would be a better runner if it was slightly further forward. The more tired I get, the more I sink back on my rear foot, and the more energy I have and the faster I'm going, I'm more to the forefoot, which stands to reason. And obviously a lot depends on the angle of the terrain, if you're going uphill or downhill. But I do feel that I tend to sink back too much, particularly on the longer marathon type runs. So I was kind of looking for a shoe that might help me be a bit further forward in my general landing. And so try these. Usually when I get a new shoe, I make a little running video. I mean, that's kind of what I do. And in this one, I didn't, it's not that I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to concentrate on taking some static pictures of the shoe hitting the ground and the different angles. And I wanted to compare my highest drop shoe, the Carbon CTM Ultra Carbon, with the new Vanish Carbon from Altra. So I decided to do that. So I went out for a run to do that. And I started in the morning, but it was a bit, the light was lovely, but it wasn't great for capturing freeze frame on the shoe. So I went out a bit later on, and then I made a video. Most of the video will be irrelevant, and I put chapter markers down below, so you can just skip through if you don't want to see me running around in them. But I kind of saw a lot of people walking along, and I just made a quick video of that. And then at the end, there are slow motion shots of me landing and towing off. All of the film is taken on a GoPro 10, which is down there, at 240 frames a second. So you can slow it down to stop if there's some part of the gait cycle you're interested in. And it's also in 4K. So, but there are channel markers. So if that's not your thing, skip on through, because the review will come after that. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of running video. It was lovely early in the morning, and I literally just put the camera down, and you can see me running up trying to do the testing. When you're trying to, and I was trying to go at a modest pace, about 5 minutes 30 per kilometer, and then faster at 4 minutes 30 or thereabouts. The problem is you're trying to hit the camera spot, and if you're trying to show the actual true angle, and then you're coming up close to the camera, you can adjust your footing for the camera, and that's not what you want to do. So what you want to do is just keep going over and over and go over till you get the right clip. So you can see that every now and then I stick up a time sheet so I know which ones is which, and I usually stopped as soon as I got to what I felt was a good clip. None of the morning ones were good enough, so that's why I went back and did some more in the afternoon. But let's put the shoes on the turntable and review their specifications. Altra say that the shoe weighs 206 grams or 7.30 ounces. This shoe is a US 13, EU 48, UK 12. In this size, it weighs in the left shoe 279 grams, 9.85 ounces, and in the right shoe 296 grams, 10.45 ounces. It has a 33mm stack height and a 0mm drop. Altra say this about the Vanish Carbon. Comfort meets speed with Altra's first ever speed shoe. Altra is taking a dive into the race category with a Carbotex Carbon half-plated shoe, the Vanish Carbon. This long-distance speed shoe is equipped with our Altra Ego Pro midsole foam for cushion in each step and our active stance rocker to provide a more efficient toe off. Our slim foot shape fit is designed to give you the power and stability you need to reach the full speed in each stride. Let's review the shoe and see if what Altra says is true. Let's talk about the upper of the shoe first. So I'll stick on the old light of truth and stick it in. It's a well ventilated shoe, lots of porous holes in the front. You can see some of the structure shining through. At the back, you can kind of see these three lines. They're not ventilation slots because they're covered in a kind of translucent plastic. So they're three lines there and there. I guess it reduces a bit of weight. The fabric at the front is very similar to the Carbon, the Hoka One Carbon X, the first version, very similar to that. And it's also actually quite similar to this shoe, ironically enough. Similar sort of at the front fabric and then a sort of plastic sort of structure to the back. They're both quite similar. The laces in these, when I was out running yesterday, I ran 4 times yesterday. I didn't want to run too far and I wanted to check what was going on. But I ran 5K in them. But I found the laces coming undone a lot. So they're the perfect length. They're a really good length, but they kept coming undone. Even though they've got they're sort of flat laces with little ridges on them that usually help tie them together. But I guess you just tie them a bit more securely. But in terms of the heel, has got this sort of plastic structure, comes quite high up at the Achilles, very well ventilated and very light. My only criticism of the upper is really the tongue. And what happens with the tongue is that, and you can kind of see it here, it's not really attached to the shoe along the sides. So what happens is that inside in the shoe, it tends to roll in on itself. And it's very hard to get it to lay it flat along your foot. It's comfortable when it does. But also there's this, the tongue comes quite high up on the forefoot. And I found that, at least in the first run, I needed to wear long socks with them. The midsole is pretty much all Altra's Ego Pro foam. It's the Carbon is at the front, so it's sandwiched between 2 layers of the Ego Pro foam. The Carbon doesn't go all the way to the rear, it literally stops pretty much at midfoot. There's not a lot going on, but that's a good thing for me. It gives it a smooth ride. There's some EVA on the outsole, and what you can see is there's the sort of patterns there. If I take Bones' leg or ankle, etc., they're supposed to lie over there. They don't. I mean, they don't. My metatarsals aren't going to exactly line up with those, but I like it. I mean, it's a nice pattern detail, but no more than that. At 279 grams or 9.85 ounces, this is a middleweight fast shoe. It's not particularly heavy, but it's not super light. It's not super light like, say, this thing. It's a reasonable, I mean, for the distance, I think it's a well-judged weight. The toe box isn't as wide as I thought it was going to be because Altra make a big thing of this thing. But I measured the width of the shoe at the forefoot because it didn't feel any bigger. I mean, it feels fine. It feels absolutely fine for me, but it didn't feel any bigger or any wider than any of my other shoes. And so I got out the old scale rule and I started measuring them, and it's narrower than quite a lot of my regular running shoes. So I wouldn't put too much into that, but yeah, they fit pretty good for me. To put them on, I have to stick my palm in like that and then slide my foot in under it in order for the edges of the tongue not to roll over on myself. It's a minor problem, but I found the shoe comfortable once it's on. Not that easy to put on, like a lot of these shoes that are very flexible. Not that easy to put on. This is the easiest shoe I have to put on apart from the Nike Fly's. But this one, you can get it on, but it does take a bit of wriggling in and out, particularly with the toe. For a long time, I've looked at Altra shoes and I haven't really liked the appearance of any of them. They've improved. I mean, they really have improved. But they're never stylish or groundbreaking. If there's a car, they'd be a Buick. The kind of thing your granddad would drive around in. And so but they've got better. I mean, but I look at this and I think, I mean, this is a fine looking shoe of all their shoes, but it gets to the back and there's the very hint of a pointy bit. If it was Nike, well, it'll come to a point, or if it was Hoka, there's a sort of reverse thing. It's just they always sort of stop short of any sort of aspect of design that's really interesting, and they look sort of clunky a lot. As I said, but this shoe is one of the better ones, and it's only available in this colorway, which is coral and black. It's very vibrant. You can see it popping up in the running movie. But yeah, for an Altra shoe, this one actually looks pretty decent. So how do they feel when you're running them? Well, first of all, I walked a lot in them because I usually don't break my shoes in by walking them, but I did wanted these. I was just nervous about getting strain on my Achilles or my calf, but lovely to walk around in. It's a really nice feel underfoot. It's supportive, but it's not hard. And so I went for 4 small runs yesterday, 2 filming sessions, then a 5K, and then I went out in the evening. And I have no side effects, so I don't have any calf strain or Achilles strain this morning. But I actually love the ride of the shoe. Altra say that there's a rocker 65% away along towards the forefoot. I think it's further forward than anything else they have, and it does you can feel it, the sort of rocking motion wanting to go forward. I really enjoyed they very much reminded me of the Hoka Carbon X, the first model, which is probably my favorite shoe to run in. These reminded me of those. It's a simple sole, the old Vanish Carbon, but a good one. In terms of use, Altra say this is for a long distance speed from 5K up, and I'm going to do a lot of performance testing in them, but for the moment I'm just sort of taking it easy. I have a slight strain on my glute anyway, but I'm actually really looking forward. I like the ride so far in the shoe. I certainly love walking in them, funny enough, but I've enjoyed running in them, and then I'm going to try and enjoy running them and comparing the performance to the other shoes. The Vanish Carbon costs €250, 240 US dollars, £220 sterling, or 280 Australian dollars. And at that, it's at the upper end of carbon fibre shoes. It's the same price as the Asics Metaspeed Sky, at least here in Ireland, in the EU. It's the same price as the Asics Metaspeed Sky, same price as the Nike Vaporfly, same price as the Craft Carbon CTM Ultra Carbon. And so it's a premium end shoe. Interestingly enough, Nike's Alpha Fly is about €300, but is regularly discounted down. So even though on one sense it seems a more expensive shoe, you can usually get it for less than the $250. So this is at the kind of upper end of sort of carbon plate shoes. Interestingly, I say this all the time. I signed up for Altra's emails and you get 10% off on your first thing. But they also had a Strava challenge. Now, I'm not huge on Strava, as most of you know, and I feel clunky using it. But anyway, I use it. I upload stuff here and there. But they did sort of offer a challenge that if you ran a certain distance, I think it was, and I bought these in the run up to the Zurich Marathon, and so it was a distance challenge, so that it was easy to get the distance done, and so I got 15% off the shoe for doing that. So that was kind of nice, and I do think I like the ride of the shoe. So yeah, it's not cheap, but it's comparable to its competition. Should you buy the Altra Vanish Carbon? Well, if you want a zero drop carbon plate shoe, then yes, because there aren't very many others around. If you like variety in your running, and which I do in terms of drop and stack height and all that, then yes, this is a great shoe to add into your rotation. And if you like just running for enjoyment, I hope it came across in the video. I just like running in these shoes. I like putting a strain on in different parts of my body. And I like a shoe that I just like, it has a comfortable ride. I mean, it's nice to go out running in. Shop till you drop. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you did, it would be great if you hit the like button. As always, there'll be lots of stuff down in the description below, and I'll happily answer any questions that you put into the comments. There'll be a big blue subscribe button popping up there, and some ready videos there. Thanks for watching. Until the next video, just keep running along.